Life has a funny way of working out, doesn't it? When I married David 2 years ago, I didn't just marry him, I became part of his family, which included his 19-year-old son, Ethan. I had no idea how complex and challenging those relationships would be. I wanted to bring warmth and care to their lives, especially Ethan's, who lost his mother when he was just 12. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lena, and I'm a 36-year-old interior designer. I spent most of my adult life focused on my work, but meeting David was a delightful surprise. He was charming, reliable, and made me feel safe. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and soon I found myself living in his beautiful home, filled with memories of his late wife. Initially, Ethan seemed like your typical teenager, quiet, reserved, and often lost in his phone or video games. However, as I got to know him better, I discovered a sharp wit, a disarming smile, and a depth of emotion he rarely revealed. Our relationship began awkwardly, as most step-parent-stepchild dynamics do. He maintained his distance, which I respected. Over time, we started to find common ground. Sometimes, he'd join me in the kitchen while I cooked, or we'd settle in to watch shows together. With David often busy with work, it left Ethan and me sharing the house, and I initially struggled to avoid overstepping boundaries. Slowly, it began to feel comfortable, and we formed a quiet friendship. One lazy Saturday afternoon, with David out running errands, I prepared to watch a show when I noticed my bracelet was stuck between the couch cushions. Frustrated, I reached to retrieve it, only to discover my hand had become wedged. "Ugh, not again!" I sighed, tugging in vain. Ethan, hearing my muffled plight, appeared at the doorway, a hint of confusion on his face. "What's wrong?" he asked. "My hand is stuck in the couch," I admitted with a chuckle, embarrassed by my predicament. He smiled and knelt beside me, offering his help. As he reached for my wrist, I felt an unexpected flutter in my chest. There was something so careful and considerate in the way he touched me that made my breath hitch. Ethan's fingers worked gently to free my hand, and his lingering touch sent waves of warmth coursing through me. When our eyes met, something shifted in that moment, and time felt like it had stopped. I sensed a new spark between us, one that made my heart race. "I should have gone back to my room," he said, his voice strained, suddenly standing up and stepping back. "Wait," I whispered, hardly aware of what I was saying. I wasn't ready for the connection to end. He paused, turning to face me, those emotions still flickering in his eyes. "What is it, Ethan?" I asked softly, unable to stop myself from reaching out to touch his arm. A timid, gentle gesture that seemed to hold the weight of our unspoken tension. It was a gentle, hesitant gesture, yet it seemed to convey so much. He looked down at my hand and then back into my eyes. Neither of us moved, but the air between us felt charged with something deeper than mere friendship. "I've been feeling something, Ethan," I confessed, my voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what it is, but it's there between us." At first, he remained silent, his gaze softening as he took a step closer. His presence was both overwhelming and comforting. Before I could fully process the moment, he whispered my name, then his lips found mine. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, as if we were both unsure of what it meant. But as his lips moved against mine, my hesitation melted away, replaced by an urgent desire I could no longer deny. Ethan's hand slid to my back, pulling me closer, the heat of his body enveloping me. The kiss deepened, a passionate exploration where our lips parted and our tongues danced together in a slow, teasing rhythm. In that moment, every part of me felt alive. My body responded to him in ways I couldn't explain. I felt my hand glide up to his chest, feeling the strength of his muscles beneath the fabric of his shirt. I craved more. I longed to explore every inch of him. But I pulled back, breathless, my heart pounding in my chest. "We can't do this," I murmured. I rested my forehead against his, feeling the tension crackle between us. "It's wrong, but..." Ethan's hands gripped my waist firmly yet gently. "I don't care," he said, his voice low and filled with desire. "I need this. I need you." The days that followed were a blur of stolen glances, lingering touches, and unspoken words. We couldn't keep our distance from each other. Every time I saw Ethan, my heart raced, and every brush of his hand sent shivers through me. In the kitchen, he'd help me cook, brushing past me, his hand lightly grazing mine, each fleeting contact igniting a fire within that I didn't know how to extinguish. One afternoon, Ethan sat down beside me on the couch, closer than usual. He remained quiet at first, but I could feel the tension in the air thickening. Turning to him, I whispered, "Ethan, what are we doing?" "I don't know," he replied, his voice barely a whisper, but the heat of desire lingered between us. Before I could respond, his hand slid to my thigh, sending a jolt of electricity through me. He leaned in, and this time, I didn't pull away. I welcomed his kiss, which had become more desperate, more urgent than before. His lips were on mine again, pushing harder, demanding. I responded with equal intensity, feeling his hands trail up to my cheek, his thumb brushing my skin as he deepened the kiss. Our bodies pressed together, his hardness against my softness, igniting a need within me that I could no longer deny. And so we found ourselves in my bedroom, wrapped in each other, driven by a passion we'd both been afraid to confront. I wanted him, needed him, and I could no longer deny it. We found ourselves in my bedroom, our bodies pressed together in a frenzy of passion. Ethan's hands roamed my body, exploring every curve, igniting a fire within me. He kissed me deeply, his lips trailing down my neck as I gasped for breath. Each touch made me shiver, and with every kiss, waves of pleasure washed over me. "I want you, Lena," he whispered, his voice husky with longing. "I can't stop." The intensity of his desire wrapped around us, and my heart raced as I breathed his name. I was overwhelmed by an insatiable need for him. After that night, everything became complicated. We had shared something deeply intimate, but it weighed heavily on us. Guilt crept in, and we grappled with how to navigate the tangled emotions that followed. I tried to keep my distance, avoiding his gaze and engaging in superficial conversations. But each encounter made my heart race and tension surged between us. I could sense his struggle, just as I battled my own doubts. We both understood that returning to how things were before was impossible. Could we truly be together? Was it wrong? I never wanted to hurt David, but my feelings for Ethan were undeniable. One night, as we sat together in the living room, Ethan broke the silence. "Lena, I need to talk to you." My chest tightened with anxiety as I turned to him. "What's going on?" "I can't keep pretending anymore," he said quietly, the weight of his words hanging in the air. "I feel something for you, something real, and I'm not sure how to handle it." I nodded slowly, my heart pounding. "I feel the same way, Ethan, but we can't just ignore the situation. What about David? What about everything we've built?" Ethan stood and turned to face the window, his back to me. "I know, I've thought about all of that, but every time I see you, I can't pretend it's not there. It's like I'm living in two worlds." I stepped closer, placing a hand gently on his shoulder. "I don't know what to do either, but I do know that whatever this is between us, we need to figure it out together." The days that followed were filled with discussions, doubts, and realizations. We spent time attempting to understand the depth of our feelings and reflecting on the connection we had shared. We knew we couldn't continue like this without making a significant decision. One evening, as the sun began to set, Ethan and I found ourselves sitting in the kitchen. "We can't keep living like this," he said, urgency in his voice. "I want you, Lena, but I want us to move forward without feeling guilty or afraid." I took a deep breath to collect my thoughts. "We have to be honest with David. It's the only way we can move forward." Ethan nodded seriously. "I'll talk to him, but I need to know you'll stand by me no matter what happens." After a long, emotional deliberation, we decided to tell David the truth. One evening, we gathered our courage and confessed everything: the attraction, the confusion, the relationship we had tried to deny. It was one of the hardest moments of my life. Yet, David's response was nothing like I had feared. He didn't lash out or accuse. Instead, he regarded us both with understanding, tinged by a hint of sadness in his eyes. "I don't understand it," David said softly, "but I can see how much you care for each other. I just want you to be happy." That moment became a turning point for all of us, echoing with a bittersweet understanding that change was inevitable. David's acceptance, though difficult to process, opened a pathway for healing and clarity among us. "I don't understand it," David said quietly, "but I can see how much you care for each other. I just want you to be happy." That moment marked a turning point for us. We faced the truth together, and somehow, we emerged stronger. Months passed. Though the journey wasn't always easy, Ethan and I committed to building a life together. We decided to take it one day at a time, focusing on the bond we shared and the love that blossomed between us. David remained a part of our lives, albeit in a different capacity. He was still a friend and an integral part of our family. Ethan and I navigated this complicated path with care and intention. Our love was something that required effort and nurturing, but we both knew it was worth it. We had discovered something real, and we weren't going to let it slip away. As I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize that love is never simple. It's messy, complicated, and sometimes painful. However, when you find the right person, when the connection is undeniable, it makes all the struggles worthwhile. Ethan and I have made peace with our past, and together, we're actively building a future. I will always be grateful for that.